Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast of Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio. We are booming lately, so excited to get these podcasts out. I am taking April off, so you're hearing this as they're coming out, so you won't even notice them off because during the month of April, the podcasts are still going to be rolling out. I won't be recording any new ones, so any ones that want to come on, I'm taking the month of April off and possibly May too to focus on music and the record label, but we'll see what happens. I'm still going to be doing the radio show, still have people coming on for that. I just want to take a break from the podcast, and I do these when I really want to do them, and excited to have them done, and I want to do them 100% for the artists that come on and give them my full attention. But this one's about Sandy, McKnight, and Fernando Perdomo. Very fun time talking with Fernando and Sandy, or Sandy and Fernando, either or. And I really enjoyed talking about their new album that we've played on the radio show a bunch of times. And there's not much more to say. The interview is so cool. You get to hear about Sandy's upcomings with music, and same with Fernando. He comes in and out. He'll come in at the beginning, and then he'll leave for a little bit. Sandy takes over, and then he comes back in at the end, which was really cool to have an honor. He called my phone and got to interview him for like 10 minutes after at the end. So listen in closely, guys, because you might just learn something new.
Hi, this is Terry Draper from Plateau.
I'm Brendan O'Hare. I used to be in Teenage Fan Club.
Hey, this is Tyler Green.
Owen Radford.
It's Josh Bradley.
Dino Troy from Praying Mantis.
Blandy Flowers.
I'm Frankie Siragusa, and you're tuning in to Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio Show with Final Man Jeb.
Let's just have a chat there.
You're listening to Mad Wasp Radio.
Actually, at a studio called Infinite Spin in Van Nuys that used to be owned by Simon Phillips and Sheila E.
Oh, wow.
And making a record with both Matt and Greg Bissonette. Greg plays drums for Ringo Starr, which is one of the coolest gigs on earth. So when Ringo sings, Greg plays drums, and then they both play drums together. But yeah, it's been really good, and I'm really excited to talk about the records that Sandy and I have made. And
I
super
love the
excited
record.
about
I've been spinning it left and right on our show, Unlikely Places Pop and Rock Radio here. Fernando, you followed us way back. I remember seeing you follow, so I was like, oh, this is awesome. It tied in all together on Twitter there. So I was so happy to get Sandy reached out and sent the record, and I've been hooked on it. I've been listening to it left and right. So got a few questions for the record and just a good chat time for you guys, and we'll put you right up on the radio show. Perfect. So the first question I got for both of you guys, either one that wants to go first, we could battle for it. It's just basically, I asked this of all my guests. What got you into music? So whoever wants to take it first can, and then go from there.
Well, I'll grab that one because yeah.
Oh, Sandy wrote a book.
I think I date a little further back on that one. Because I was, of course, old enough to remember when the Beatles were on Ed Sullivan.
Ooh.
And so I, like a lot of other people, latched onto that right away. I didn't start playing, though, until 1968, when somebody explained to me that in order to be in a band, it's a good idea to have an instrument. So it wasn't enough just to, grow your hair and stuff. So I picked up the bass. I bought it on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn for $75 from the factory that actually made them. It was a imitation Mosrite, and that was my first accent. I played in local bands.
Nice.
Got pretty good pretty fast, and started to play with better and better people. And I played some jazz fusion stuff for a while, so I picked up some theory and the interesting scales and stuff, and then figured out I could write songs around the mid 70s and started to do that. We had a couple of reel-to-reel tape recorders that we used to do sound on sound recordings, and they were pretty awful, but that's how you learn. And eventually I knew what I was doing, and in the 80s I had some good luck. I played with Dennis Dykin of the Smithereens.
Ooh.
With a band called the Coupons. Our slogan was no redeeming value.
I like that.
Yeah, and then had a band called Numbers, and
that's great.
We used to play at CBGB's all the time, and that whole circuit. And then I got into more of the producing end, and started to get some of my recordings placed in various TV and movie and stuff like that. And then a few years ago I was doing this 70s homage project with my brother-in-law, who is used to be in a band called 2020, And he and I did this record, and part of it was recorded at Fernando's former location, the Reseda Ranch. And we hit it off as little as we actually spoke to each other. Uh, but I just had the feeling that he was like a really positive, high energy guy. So I wanted to get together with him. And next time I was in LA, I called him up and we did it.
There you go.
Yeah, that's the way it is. And then the rest is history. And we've, we recorded 3 EPs that we then turned into a full record, which I think is a fun way of doing things. It's almost like, you build 5 songs at a time and coming up with the best ones and really putting in all our effort, in little chunks, which is really fantastic. I got my start because my mother was a classically trained pianist in Cuba, and she was incredibly talented, but she gave up that dream along the time of that she escaped from Cuba and went into the journalism world, and she was one of the founders of the Miami Herald in Spanish. But she was always playing piano at home, and she always was playing music, and through her I got into all the stuff that was major early influences, ranging from Michel Legrand to the Beatles to frickin' Greek music and Italian music and Cuban music and all sorts of stuff. I started buying records at flea markets, which was where my family used to go every Sunday. After a while, I stopped spending my money on toys. I started buying records. By the age of 8, I had like over 1,000 records. So I was already like to the point where that was really my teacher. I got it going because, luckily it was the age of the dollar record or the 50-cent record. And, when you buy like 20 every Sunday, it definitely filled my time learning these albums and becoming huge fans of everything from, Yes to The Who to Todd Rundgren to Wings to, jazz fusion, which was a big influence on me, like Jean-Luc Ponty and Mahavishnu and Tony Williams' Lifetime and stuff like that. So, yeah, and then eventually it all led towards, becoming a...
Hey, Fernando had to step away for a little bit. He comes back at the end. He had some recording to do. That's why he kind of called us in and out. But he did come back at the end, so you'll catch that one at the end. This is all Sandy right now. And enjoy Sandy McKnight and our interview together during this time.
I briefly was in radio, like terrestrial radio, for
cool.
a couple of years. And I actually met Todd as well in 1982.
Ooh, that's cool.
He was in Utopia at that point.
Great band.
And we were recording a record with his former keyboard player, known as M. Frog, but his real name was Jean-Yves Labat. And so we were working with him, and Todd was, we were at his studio at Todd's house. And then they played a concert that night at Lee Von Helm's place. Went out on some, radio concert type of thing.
Ooh.
And so we got to hang there too. So it was pretty cool. Got to meet Levon, and it was, stuff like that happened back in the 80s.
You hear all the fun stories of like that time period and all those things, and it's just so cool to be able to hear those stories. And it's like, hey, we got to hang out with this person. It's like, how did that happen? Well, it just happened.
Yeah. well, being in New York helped, because I was playing with people who were, come on the up and coming track, and so it was great to, kind of rub shoulders with some of them. And eventually I got a few really good people to play on some of my later recordings.
There you go.
Dennis Dykin from Smithereens played on a few of my cuts. I did some sessions with Gary Burke and Graham Mabey from the Joe Jackson Band. A lot of good people, Earl Slick. And so meeting Fernando was kind of exciting because I hadn't really known about him before that, but his name rang a bell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I heard about him through the Emmett Rhodes project he was doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
And, my brother-in-law, who was producing my 70s project, just said, yeah, show up here. And there was Fernando. It was his place. And we didn't really talk that much. I mean, we hung out a little bit, but it wasn't like a whole thing where we bonded or anything. But about a year later, I was in LA again, and I had some songs and I had some ideas, and I just gave him a call and said, let me come in for a day. And we started working, and it was great. It sounded great. And we worked really quick, and he was on the same wavelength. So we got 3 songs done that first day, and then awesome. Worked, I think, 1 or 2 more days together. And this was all back before the COVID. So we were actually, in the same place. And then the COVID thing hit. And then we were long distance all of a sudden. So we were working, I would send him my demo, and he would do guitars and drums, sometimes some keys. And then I would get his mix of that and the individual tracks too. It was like a massive project, but it was like I would add the bass, which is my instrument, and I know the vocals and stuff, and then I would mix it and master it with a guy from New York called Mike Marciano, who has a studio called Systems 2, who I've worked with since the early 80s. Yeah, and he's got a couple of Grammys sitting in his place. Go. So it's just, great to work with like really good people, it's just fun and easy, and they get all of the, they know the whole repertoire, the whole, the encyclopedia of music from, especially Fernando. He's so diverse, a lot of players, and this is something that, maybe your audience would be interested in, unlike all this other rambling. But, it pays to learn or listen to like lots of different stuff, because even if you're really into metal or whatever you're into, you could borrow a little bit here and there, and it'll make your music more interesting. Certainly Fernando's that way. I have a varied taste. I don't know if you're familiar with my back catalog, but I've done everything from like jazz flavored stuff. I did some bossa nova stuff,
wow.
Just like all over the place.
Keeping a mix of everything, yeah.
Yeah, and the power pop thing, I've always had my hand in that, but this is the first time I said, let me just make an entire record, with just power pop on it. And the album is actually, it's a little more, it goes into some other genres as well, I think. There's a little bit of sort of a classic rock feel to some of the tracks. There's some psychedelia in there. There's, so it's not strictly power pop, but the tracks that you've been playing, and thank you for that.
Oh, yeah.
Have been primarily more power pop.
Yeah, I love the whole album, and I will be playing more from the album. I have more planned, of course. I just doing spreading them out so you get more weeks into being on the show. And I love the full album. I've been listening through fully, and there's definitely a little bit of that like psych era sounding, especially like I know the ones I played. Like Pay It Any Mind was one of the ones I played. I really enjoyed. Yeah. It's got that George Harrison guitar sounding, and I just was so hooked on that because I'm a Beatles fanatic, so I love all that stuff. Badfinger is one of my top bands, so I hear any of those kind of in the songs, I'm like, yes, those are my draw to. But I like when artists definitely reach out to the other, stabbing the other genres a little bit too, and doing something different instead of just keeping the same old, which I
yeah, sure. And Fernando's played on he does a lot of instrumental stuff. He just did an album with Carmine Appice, who's from Vanilla Fudge, and,
yeah.
And so that might be worth checking out for your more middle.
I will definitely, because I like Beck Belgrade and Appice a lot, so I really like that album with Jeff Beck that Carmine was on too, and Vanilla Fudge is amazing. So I definitely will. I've been following him ever since I saw the Echo in the Canyon documentary on Netflix with Beck and Jacob Dylan, and I'm a huge Wallflowers fanatic too, and I loved and also I'm like, who's that guy? And they started talking about it. It was like, oh my god, he's like a really well-to-do producer that like not a lot of people on the East Coast know as much. And then when you hear his name, it sounds familiar. It's like one of those, okay, I know who that is. And it's just really cool, to be able to hear that stuff. And I love that documentary. It was one of my favorites. And I'm glad they mentioned Zappa just a little bit, because I was like, Zappa's a big part of that. Hopefully they mention him.
Yeah.
I love Frank, so I was like, that's really
Although
cool.
they kind of skirted around Joni Mitchell.
Yeah.
I think there was some like conflict or something where they weren't supposed to mention her or something. But that was the one thing.
Yeah, she's a big part of that too.
I actually saw it in the theater, and it was like, oh, what about Johnny?
Kind of major there, she's a big influence on that as well, and it was cool. I mean, I love seeing the Mamas and the Papas and stuff like that too, so it was perfect for me. But yeah, I saw that, and just as much as I saw it on streaming way later, so it was like really cool to just have a documentary on something of the time period that I care about. I'm only 22, but I look back at all this stuff, and I live in the past, but I don't care. Music's so good. Music's so good. I don't need to live in the present totally, but I like to escape. I like to do that through that. A lot of my influences come from that time period, so it's very cool. That's why I want to start the show too. It's just I want to do a radio show. So I've always had a voice for radio, so I've been told. So I was like, I'm gonna start one, and so I can now. Now it's so much easier to just have a home radio show.
You can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Right?
And thank to Mad Wasp Radio for always they are our stuff in the UK. So I'm from Connecticut. I'm from the East Coast myself, and I send the show into them in the UK. So our time zones got screwed up. That's why I texted you. I was like, it's actually 2 to 4 now, because we sprung forward as they went. They stayed the same or something. So now it's like an hour off. I'm like, oh, I got it screwed up. So I had to like tell everybody like, yeah, you gotta wait an hour. Enjoy the show that's on right now, but it's not me. But it was so much fun. So I got another question for you. Who was your biggest influence? I know you mentioned a bunch of the early stuff that got you into music. Do you have like anybody that really that you draw back to as like maybe your most majored influence?
I think probably the Who were my first faves. When I was, I don't know, 12 or something, I bought the Who Sell Out.
It's a great record.
Yeah, and that was immediately one of my favorites. And I got to see the Who 3 or 4 times before Tommy even.
Oh wow.
So I really connected with them, and then I would say the Kinks also.
Oh, great band too.
Great songwriting, and it kind of showed me that you didn't have to be a powerhouse singer. I was never that kind of a singer, and for many years I was a little hesitant to be the front guy, and so as a bass player you can just hide back there, and I was good with harmonies and stuff, and then at some point it just became a thing where like if I didn't sing the songs nobody else was going to, so I figured I better work on that. And then immediately I got the Elvis Costello comparisons, which I don't hear it myself, but other people always say it. And the other one I get is Randy Newman, which is another I don't really follow him either, but whatever, it's all my theory is that it's all really coming from that generation, Joe Jackson and Graham Parker and all those people who were influenced by Beatles, Kinks, Who,
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Graham Parker. We're friends with his backing band, the Figs, of the show here. Pete Donnelly's a good friend of mine, and so we've been talking Graham back and forth. And I'm hoping to go see Graham if I got enough money. I mean, concerts this year around the East Coast have been nuts in Connecticut. Like actually shows I want to go see. Like Not a Surf is coming, and some other bigger names. And I'm just like, oh wow, I don't have enough money for all this. Finally getting to see a Beatle. Going to go see Paul McCartney in June, so I'm pretty excited about that. Taking a trip to Syracuse, so I'll be excited. When I get there, I'll be so happy to see him. It's pretty exciting.
The Figs are from Saratoga.
Yes.
And I've been sort of a local Albany artist for many years, and we've crossed paths. I don't really know them that well, but my friend John Pohida, do you know him?
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he was in a band called the Rudds in Boston.
Okay.
And he now has a group called the John Pohida International Airport.
Ooh, I like the name. That's cool.
Yeah, and he works a lot with the Figs, and I think it's Pete. is the one that he primarily records with and everything. And he has
awesome.
a new record out, which you should check out. I think it's on Bandcamp. John Powhida, Powhida.
All right, perfect. I will. I'll probably have you text that to me after, so I can put it in. I'll definitely check that out because I would love to hear that.
Yeah.
I've been invited to go work down with Pete Donnelly. He goes, "Come down to my studio sometime." I'm like, "Yeah, I gotta get some money." I said, "I'll be there." I said, "I'm so honored. I would love to work with Pete. I've heard his like mixing skills are, one to mess with, and I'm doing a little bit on my own, but it's cool to have somebody to, it's not just doing it on your own. It's having the opinions of somebody else to hear something that you didn't hear in your own songs, and it's pretty cool.
Yeah. So you're a songwriter as well.
Yeah, I'm not just the radio host. I'm a musician too, and I'm a record label owner. So I've been all around all different avenues of the music business because I just love it so much that I got myself kind of to do the fair side of the DIY side of the record label to help our artists, not to hinder them. That's our goal. And I know you asked me about that a little while ago back too, about the label. And we've been we just started and we're doing stuff with that. But it runs the radio show. Just another like way to shout out myself, I guess, in a sense. But I just love making music. I love sharing other people's music too. So it just became like, oh, I should do this as a natural, So it's been very cool. Out of all your songs that you've worked on, I mean, probably a lot to pick from here. But do you have a favorite one that, like, I don't know? It's hard to ask that. I know as a musician writer myself, but I always like to throw this question on there. Do you have one that you're particularly like really proud of?
Yeah, there's a few.
Okay, cool.
I think from the new album, I'm pretty much attached to Paid Any Mind.
Perfect.
And Any Time of Day. Those are the two that I'm most happy with the way they came out. And in previous work, it's really hard to pin it down because some of the recordings weren't as good, but the songs were good. And sometimes that happens, or even the other way where the song is, just a pretty simple song, but the way you record it makes it, come to life.
Yeah.
I have a song that I would like you to listen to someday.
Okay. Sure.
Called Next Stop Willoughby.
Okay.
And it's based on an old Twilight Zone episode. And it's very different than the power pop stuff that I do. Perfect. It's somewhat orchestral. I brought a little string section in and stuff. That one is probably one of my favorite recordings I've done. But it's really hard because they're all your little babies, and you don't want
it's true.
Neglect any. But I have over 300 recordings that of songs I've written, and then a lot of others of just ones I just played on or whatever. So it's kind of hard to nail one or two down.
Yeah, especially when there's a lot, because I feel like the same as I write a lot. Like my Bandcamp has 60 plus releases, full albums and singles and stuff like that. And I just kept going and going and going because I'm very prolific. And when it comes to that, I think like sometimes some songs are made just to kind of be a placeholder to move on to that next great song. And sometimes the one that you thought was a placeholder becomes that great song. And it's very cool that over time it's what people hear. Everybody has different experiences in life, and some songs they like more than others. And sure. I remember I interviewed Vic Wayne of Star Collector recently in our last talk, and we brought up like songs, like we're asked the same question, like, hey, do you have a favorite one that you wrote? And he goes, it's funny how like radio hosts will pick out certain songs that were like, that wouldn't even be on my top 10 of my own songs. It's funny how other people, and that's just, I find that really cool that people have different taste of your own music, and you're like, or that, like you mentioned earlier too, with the whole thing about people hearing you as Elvis, Costello there, and it's like a desired thing because people were compared. One person compared me to my music to Soundgarden, and I'm like, all right, first of all, I'm not that good. My voice is nowhere near Chris Cornell's. That's actually kind of an insult to Chris, because and that's just me. Like, hey, if you hear that, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. And I like to take compliments, but sometimes I'm like, I don't know what they're hearing and if they're listening to the right song.
Well, so,
it's fun.
Ears are all different, and for everyone who mentions Paid Any Mind, I get a lot of people with reviews or whatever where they're talking about songs that are way down on my list of the 15 that are on the album. But I mean, I of course like all the songs, but there's ones that I just feel we really nail them. But like you played
Paid Any
Why
Mind
Make
and Wedding
Promises,
yeah.
And
so
that
far.
one, it's a good recording, a good song. It's not one of my top 5 on the
I
album.
got you, yeah. But see, I like it. I'm like, this is awesome. It's funny to think that. It's funny how everybody has different tastes, and from the own artist themselves. But I've always enjoyed hearing what artists think of their own songs, because a lot of times we don't reflect, we just do. And a lot of times it's like, oh, actually, now that you asked me about that, here's the story. But I never really thought about it. Here's the story. Like I've had a song that I worked with Frankie Saragusa, drummer for the Posies, but also he has a studio in LA called The Lab. And he's really well to do with studio stuff, and he's worked with Glenn Phillips of Toad the Wet Sprocket and stuff like that. And it's just really cool to hear like his idea on one of the songs that we did. And I wrote that in like 20 minutes, sent it over to him, and had this huge experience, kind of like you did with the collabing back and forth online. Because I've never been to California. I want to be, but I've never left Connecticut actually, other than like to go on vacation to New Jersey or something. But it was exciting that the song got to travel somewhere I wanted to go, and that meant something. And it was really cool that we have this technology nowadays to be able to do this album. You could do some of it in person and some of it online. It's like, whoa, we could actually do this and actually keep it going. You don't have to wait another year to stop a halt of production, which is kind of cool. These home studio setups aren't as expensive as they, foretold to be if you know what you're getting, and it works really well. And then you could always upgrade, of course, too. So it's really cool. And I got one last question for you, and then we'll go into. I picked a couple songs as well, so we could talk about those as well. We touched upon most of them, but I'll just have it like I'll play the song on the radio show, and you'll have your voice ahead of it, just saying, "Hey, this song's about this." But the last question I have with you, since Fernando did have to go, I'm going to ask you this one because I wasn't going to ask it originally. But what was it like for you to work with Fernando Perdomo? I know we went into it at the beginning of the podcast here a little bit, but what was it? What was it like to work with him, and any favorite moments in the studio when you guys were together? Any of that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it was like I say, when I first met him, I was doing a session on a different project, and his involvement was so intense. He was so, in the moment, and that's something that grabbed me. And I thought, I got to work with this guy. And then when we actually did get together, I totally felt that. I just was like, here's the song, and then next thing I knew, he was playing what I was hearing. So it was just
that's
great.
Rare too. That's awesome.
And I didn't have to explain much to him. I had a song called Heart in My Hands, Heart in Your Hands, I guess is actually the title. And it's on the album, and it's a very specific type of style, kind of a like I Am the Walrus kind of vibe. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm just got you recording.
You got like really loud all of a sudden.
Oh no, I don't know.
Yeah, let me put you on speaker because.
There you go.
Well, that's what happened. I did put you on speaker.
Ah, there we go. We figured it out.
That's better. Yeah, so Heart in Your Hands, I had actually done previously for the 70s project I had done. And that was, by the way, the 70s thing was called Wow and Flutter.
Ooh.
And it was very, like, it was geared toward, like, the what they used to call light rock, so almost easy listening, but not quite. But it was like Bread and bands.
Yeah,
I
was thinking Bread and Badfinger. I was exactly thinking that. Perfect.
Yeah, and so it was kind of an homage to that because it was like we used all authentic instruments and recording techniques from that period and everything. And I did that in LA. And that's the record where I met Fernando. But I had done Heart in Your Hands on that record, and I ended up not liking it, and I took it off the record. And then I just thought, well, maybe Fernando could, get what I was after. And I gave it to him, and he did an incredible job with it. It's got a whole, I Am the Walrus kind of vibe to it, and very... stylized, and he just came up with these great ideas. So I'm a self-producing guy. I mean, I produce most of my own recordings, but it's great to sort of have this kind of collaborator who can add another set of ideas.
Yeah.
You know, who just come in and, oh, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, you know, and I could also with Fernando, I could tell him, look, this is exactly what I want. I know, you know, the part, and he'll play it, you know.
Oh, that's the best.
But I try not to give him too much instruction because I want to grab his ideas, you know.
Yeah, that's what I always liked about going into sessions too. I said to myself, I like doing everything at home. I have I have all the I have the equipment and everything too.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of going into studio and somebody saying, "Hey, have you tried this?" And if you don't like it, you know, we could change it. But at least they offer an idea. And I've had a great work with this guy, Jeff Wilson, in Connecticut. And this guy's he's a drummer for a cover band for the Cars, and he's just really fun to work with. And we brought up a song that we did. We had Rich Dart in studio playing drums. He drums for the Monkees. And I just remember him, like, when we first recorded it, there was that idea of, like, you know, having that change of songs and stuff. And I don't know, it's just something different to be able to have somebody tell you, like, I like what you're doing there, but this bass line instead, because I play bass too. So I play guitar, bass, and I can't do drums. Drums is the only instrument I still have so much trouble with doing, and it works out.
It's a whole nother
you have to have rhythm, which I don't have rhythm. I'm like a dancing fool, you know.
Yeah. Well, listen, you know, I barely play guitar, and I play no drums, and you know, you just have to like really do what you can do.
Yeah, and then find the guys that can do it.
Bass player,
and just tell them what to do. I love it. Oh, that's perfect. So we'll go right into the song section here for you, and then we'll wrap it up. But we could definitely have you and Fernando on again, or just have you yourself again in the future. I always like having reoccurring guests as well to say, hey, what you guys been up to, and we'll, you know, have you on again. But I picked a couple songs that I've played already.
I have a couple of other things to.
Yeah, go ahead. No worries.
I mean, we could do it another time, but I'm working right now on actually a musical that I wrote called Band Boy, which is about, it's not really my experiences, but it's based on my days of the, you know, new wave days of CBGB stuff.
Oh, wow.
And it's about a band that goes on the road and in a van, you know, and does the whole dive bar thing.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, so it's a fun project, and I'm actually doing a film version of it. So, that's.
Will this tie in with the musical at the same time, or would it be like a separate release for the film, separate release for the musical, or is it going to be a film, or how is that going to go?
I looked into doing a live production, but it's more expensive actually to do that. And then, you know, you play it for a week or whatever live, and then that's the end of it, you know. So I thought, let me just film it. And this way I have something that I could always look at. I could edit. I could, you know, redo parts if I need to.
Yeah, and it lives forever too.
Yeah, and perfect. Then, you know, potentially you have such a larger audience because you could just play it any time. It's not just a one performance thing, you know.
Yeah, and it's perfect. I know it's a fun idea to do that like musical type thing, and it's different. It's definitely a different avenue from what I've heard. I mean, I love Tommy from the Who, so that's always been a big inspiration for rock operas and the musical side of it. So I can see that being a really cool project. I love the Pretty Things too. That was our episode on air today. Was all the Pretty Things. That's a really cool project. Once that's out, let's have you on again to talk about that in full details too. I would love to cover that for you. And we can do some promo
you know,
for you.
There's a lot of stuff going on with me all the time because
perfect.
I'm somewhat like you. I think I'm just like always looking for some, you know, something that'll get me excited and, you know, dive in.
Oh, that's me to the T. That's why I do like 4 different things, and people go, how do you you know, do all this stuff? And it's like, you know what? It doesn't come like, it's actually it's more stressful for me to not have anything to do. Like most people, it's the opposite. For me, it's less stressful if I'm doing something. And even if it's a high stressful task, I don't feel like it's stress. Plus, I think what it is too is work for me. My job here is stuff that I love doing. So it doesn't even feel like work. It feels like I'm on break 24/7 because I'm doing stuff that I love. You know, me practicing for my band's rehearsal is something I enjoy doing. So it's like, you know, I don't, that doesn't seem like work to me. So like when I take breaks, I'm like, what do I do to take breaks? I just basically just watch TV, I guess. But it's like, and then I'm bored. I find like 10 minutes of TV and I'm like, all right, what am I doing now? Oh, here I am writing a song again. Okay. You know, it's just inspiration all the time. And I remember, remember, I'm a big Neil Young fan, and I was hearing things about him saying that like when that stuff happens with the inspiration, you just have to write it down, and you have to turn everything off and just have that song written, because that is the divine intervention, whatever it is that's giving you that ability to write. You have to just write it down. So I've done that, and I have a lot of songs written, not even recorded, just lyrics, ideas written, because I know in a time period when somebody says, hey, you got any lyrics, and I'm in a pinch, yeah, actually I do. Let me just mix 3 of these songs together and see what we get. And it's fun. It makes it really fun, and I don't ignore any of that stuff. I don't throw anything out either. A lot of people trash their early demos and stuff, and I just cringe at that. I'm like, even if it's like, not the greatest of your work, it's still a way to reflect and say, hey, I'm doing better than that today. And it's like, it's pretty cool. I don't know. I keep everything too, so.
We'll have to grab a drink sometime.
Oh, I'd love to. That'd be awesome.
We're about, I guess, 50 or 60 miles away
Which
from
isn't
each
too
other,
bad.
so.
That's not too bad. It'd be a nice trip out. I'm definitely, like I said, going to Syracuse for the Beatles thing, and once I get going, I'll hopefully be working with Pete up in Saratoga there. So it'd be kind of cool. Yeah, let me know. I'd be more than honored to come out and grab a drink sometime. It'd be awesome. Talk music.
Yeah, I'm in the Berkshires in Lee, Massachusetts.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm up. My band's actually. It's funny. We thought we were done, and then I booked a show in August. I'm booking the first ever RoboJack Records bash, and we have a lot of really cool acts coming to play. And this is the first time I ever booked a show. This is me exploring because I'm bored. Let me go book a show at a venue, and it worked out. I was like, all right, let's just do it. So it got really fun. My guy's coming from Ohio, who I've never met. My co-writer I've been with for like 5 years. We've been writing songs together. We've never met in person. We've always been online. So it's really exciting in August that I'm finally going to meet him. We're going to have a guy come up from Florida who's a friend of us who does our editing for our label, and he's been friends with me even longer than he has. I never met him, so it's just really exciting that all of us are going to finally meet the end of this year, which is around my birthday, so it's even cooler. And then, it's just something so exciting to do, and it's just something different. And it was like, hey, how to make something out of just meeting 2 people. Let's just throw a bash with a bunch of musicians, then I'll be happy. And even then, I'm still going to be looking for something to do. But our band, back to the thing is, they're from Boston. They moved up to Boston. They were originally from Connecticut. And then they were like, we're going to be moving out west. I'm like, okay. And then they told me, oh, actually, we ended up in Boston. I'm like, you went the wrong direction, but okay. So we're going to be doing once a month rehearsals for this gig, and meeting up with them again was just so much fun. Too bad I had work that night. I was like, guys, we're going to have to schedule on a day I don't have to work so we can actually hang out again. But I love playing music just so much.
Britain is where? Like next to what city?
Oh man, I gotta look that up. I should know this. Like,
are you closer to Hartford or?
I'm about
New Haven or.
New Haven is closer. So
okay.
Yeah, New Britain is around the Hartford County there. I do shows in Hamden a lot. That's where I'm usually my live stuff is, and the show that we booked was in Hamden. So it's been like mostly I play around Hamden. I've been in New Haven's pretty close. I'm in Prospect, Connecticut, near Cheshire, Connecticut, near the biggest city near us is Waterbury, but it's the other end. I'm in a small town that's like a country tile tight town, so it's pretty cool. Nice. I like the quiet. I'm able to record at home and stuff. Nobody bothers me.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, it's perfect. But yeah, no. So
let me know when your show is, and I'll try to make it down.
Oh, Sandy, if you want to come and play, let me know. I'll give you a couple. You can play on stage with us. We're doing a Badfinger bash. If you're into playing any Badfinger songs, I'd love to have you come up on stage and play.
Okay.
Yeah, it's August 20th in Hamden. I'll give you all the details. Oh, it'd be an honor. I'd be happy to do that. We're trying to get Paul Davey to show up too from Syracuse, because he's Joey Mullen's manager. But he's also was Joey's keyboardist for a little while. So I was like, if I can get the keyboardist he can practically say he's played a lot of Badfinger songs, I would love to do that. But, oh, man, I'd love to have you on bass. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, let me know.
Yeah, we'll do. Sweet. Hey, it's always fun to have guests. I love it. I invited Pete Donnelly of the Figs, too, but he goes, the Figs were going to be our main act. That was our booking, like our wanting to do. And he goes, bad timing. He goes, I got some stuff going on. I was like, damn. He goes, but let me know for next year. I'm like, all right, then we're doing it next year now. It's happening. If we can get the Figs, I'd be so happy. But yeah, let me know. So I'll move into the song section here for you, and then we'll wrap up. And I'd love to have you on again, definitely.
Yeah.
We'll have you on again, and hey, maybe have you co-host a show since you've been in radio for a little bit. It'd be kind of fun to have you co-host a radio show with me. I do that sometimes too. So,
okay.
Have you pick some songs? I'll pick some songs, and we just explain why we picked them. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I actually have a playlist on Spotify, which is called Multi-Gas, MULTI-gas.
Okay.
And that, I put that together as something for me to listen to when I'm in the car, and it's got pretty much most of my favorite stuff on it. So if you want to pop in on that sometime, you can get a real sense of where I'm coming from.
Where you're at, and then we could pick songs from that, and then you can come on, or and then whatever you want to do. That'd be awesome. Because I'm gonna try that for the first time with Pete Donnelly, which is perfectly timed. Pete was like, I want to come on the show. I was like, I'm not gonna just interview because I've already interviewed you. I said I'm gonna make you a co-host, and we're gonna we'll do some stuff together. So I'll see how it goes with him. It should be real fun. I've done it once. We did a Badfinger special, and that was one time I did it with my friend from Ohio, and it's really fun. You just get on the phone and just record the parts separately. I like that it's pre-recorded, so I could do the music. You could just add the music in when I go and record it like I'm recording a song. All right, so I'll ask you the next couple songs here for you. And I have up first is the first one I ever played from you guys and fell in love with the record. It's Pay It Any Mind. We talked a little bit about it, of course, throughout this whole podcast here. But anything about that song, anything you want to add for that, we'll put that in right before the song, before it plays on the episode here of Unlikely Places.
Yeah, the one thing that we kind of it happened as we were going along, wasn't planned out, but the ending is kind of unique in that it kind of just doesn't resolve, and I wanted it to kind of hang out there as like a mystery type feeling, so check that out.
There you go. Perfect. So we'll spin that right now for you guys. I like saying spin it, but really we're just clicking a button. But spin it right here for you on the vinyl, but it's actually just a click of a digital button. And then I picked, and we mentioned earlier, maybe I'll get some deep cut knowledge here, but why Make Promises? Was the recording like that for, and any tidbits for that one?
Yeah, I remember sending Fernando that at that point we were working long distance. And I wasn't really sure what the song was going to end up sounding like. But I had these kind of ambitious ideas, and I told Fernando, I just wanted him to, be able to be free with it. And he came up with some great stuff. It ended up kind of feeling to me like a Todd Rundgren type of vibe.
Perfect. Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily what I went in thinking, but you never know in the studio.
Things happen, like inspirations come in and stuff. I love that. That's awesome.
Yep.
So we'll spin that one. I've played that one on the show. I both played it, Paid Any Mind, of course, too. But we'll play these all again in one block for you on the same show.
Cool.
We'll call it the Sandy McKnight special. There we go. And then the last one, you mentioned that you really liked the working with this one. So I said, why not throw this on while we're talking? I'll just throw this one in the mix here. And this is the last one I'll have for you to talk about. Any Time of Day you mentioned as well on this new record. So what was special about that one, and any tidbits for that?
Well, yeah, that one... I write a lot of relationship songs. I have in my catalog probably 20 girl name songs, but I try not to repeat myself with themes. And so the thing about Any Time of Day was that I was sitting here just, getting stuff done, whatever it was. And I was just thinking, like, the beauty of getting older, which you will someday be.
Yeah, I have.
Is that, like, all of a sudden, like, you don't have to go to work, you don't have to go to school. You could just do whatever you want, like it's, and I'm lucky enough to be in a position financially where I don't have to worry about it. So it's just like, okay, what do I feel like doing today? And I could watch TV or listen to some music, and that's one of the lyrics. Me. And I just, I started thinking about, like, freedom, like everybody is drummed into you when you're a kid. Like, you have to do this and then you have to do that, and my whole life I was fighting that system, and sometimes I was successful and other times I had to give in. So to me, it was just like a celebration of being free of all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, that's, I think, why I love it. And I also love the little guitar break where it goes to the minor chord and there's a guitar harmony and stuff. So those are my reasons for liking that one. Plus, it's got a great intro, I think.
It's perfect. I love that song too. Like I said, I've listened to the album a couple times. It's just been something I've been, usually I don't, people send stuff for the albums. I'll be completely honest here. Hey, everybody tuned in. They're going to get the scoop here. I listen to the songs. I'll listen to like 30 seconds or 40 or a minute and go, okay, this fits the show for the theme. I always have themes for the radio shows. They're kind of like hidden with the show, but it helps me like, at least formulate what I want to do for the show. Sometimes it's based off one artist, or sometimes it's based off a whole genre, or sometimes I want to shake things up. I'm going to put a song in that I would never play and then base songs around it that I would play. So it like makes it work. And I love it's just, hey, it's craft. It's song crafting with other people's music. I love it. So like for me though, with that album, it just like, that's what I remember. I said, you sent like a few songs. I was like, can you send the full album? I am like hooked on these like 4 songs that you sent. And I was just like, I need more because I want to play more. I want to play at least, one every week if I can, or if there's a week that gets skipped, I'll play 2 on the next. So, it has to fit the theme, of course, but I loved it so much. And that was one of the songs I was like, this is really good. And it was cool to hear that you're like, I'm really proud of that one. I was like, I really like that one too. So perfect. Well, thank you, Sandy, for coming on the show. And I want to thank Fernando too, but what we could do is try to find another time where he's not so busy and throw him back in. We'll keep the Fernando in the beginning and we'll call it the Sandy McKnight with a dash of Fernando, So
well, here's some exciting news.
All right.
Fernando, of course, is based in LA, and he's always busy recording out there. He does occasionally go home to Miami, where he's from, but he also has a new girlfriend who is in New York.
Ooh.
So he is coming to New York more often now.
Oh, there you go.
And he actually said, because I've been after him to do some shows, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll come out there.
Sweet.
We'll play." And the guy I mentioned before, John Pahida, who's been working with Pete, Donnelly, he would be in the band as well, because Fernando and John played with the Nas reunion a couple of months ago, or a year ago or so. And John is a big Rundgren guy. I mean, he's like buds with him. So, it all kind of came together. And now, so Fernando's threatening to come to the East Coast. And as soon as he tells me he's going to be here for a while, I'm going to book some shows.
Well, if you want to book a show in Connecticut, let me know. I'll help you out. I know a couple of venues I'm tied in with, so let me know.
That'd be great.
We'll get something up for you, and I'll make a bill up. I'll add some of my friends in there too. We'll make a nice little big show for you, and you guys will be the headliners. That'd be awesome. Try to book the Figs. Try to get them again, but
they're pretty busy guys.
Oh, they are. I got to see them once. My buddy from Ohio is a diehard fan. Like I was, I know what it's like to be a diehard fan. Like right now, I'm a big fan of Not a Surf. I like everything with them. I love their stuff, and they're from New York too. But I think Seattle took them over. But besides the point, I was like, he goes, you got to check out the Figs in Graham Parker. I'm like, all right. And at the time, I was like, yeah, they're pretty good, but I wasn't like hitting it. Then it's just like in my life, certain things happened, and just like, and it just hit hard. And I was like, I love the Figs. These guys are awesome. And then all of a sudden, Pete's like, by the way, because Pete's on one of my records, he does some voice acting for me. He goes, you don't want me to play bass or anything? I'm like, nah, I just need voice acting. And I will always remember that he remembers it too. He goes, you missed your opportunity. And I'm like, yeah, I know. So I've always regretted it because I just wasn't, I'm thinking what I wanted for the record. So I got him doing some voice acting, some introduction stuff, and it was really cool. It was something different for him to do too. And anyway, so we became friends, and then finally he was like, we're going to be in Connecticut, we're going to be in Westport, and how far is that? And I'm like, that's like an actual drive. I said, I'll do it though, I'm ready. So a new friend of mine and I went up to go see them, and this friend happened to be friends with the guy from Ohio too, and never met him in person either, so it's like a funny story. We went to go see the Figs, and then we met him, and we just kept texting the guy and taking pictures. We're like, wish you were here. We're probably pissing him off. But what we did was, we didn't tell him, is we got a signed record from all the Figs guys, Mike, Pete and Pete, or Mike, Mike, Pete, and Pete, and so we had them all sign everything, and it said, wish we were in Ohio on it, and it was like, and I sent it to him without even telling him, and it's usually I'm tell everybody everything, but it was just so cool. When he got the package, he was like, thanks guys. I'm like, yeah, dude. So, and that'll be the guy we're meeting in August finally, so I'm really excited. He plays keyboards, he's pretty good, so it's gonna be really fun, but I'll definitely give you all the details. It'd be an honor to have you come up and play some bass for us.
If I'm free, then
let me know.
Try to make it down.
Yeah, perfect. We'll give you a couple of the covers that we're doing ahead of time, and if you're able to just pick up the bass and be like, I know how to do what I'm doing, then you could hop on anytime. Perfect. Yeah. All right. Well, Sandy, thank you for coming on. I'll save your number so I have it, and I'll text you the details, and we'll be good. All right. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you, Sandy,
for doing this.
Yeah, no problem. And you're welcome on anytime.
Fernando Perdomo takes the mic in this next part of the podcast. Little 10 minutes with him. He called me back after, so very exciting to be able to put this on today. Enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you for tuning into the podcast every single time there's one posted. I really appreciate it, guys. So excited to keep these going. I am, like I said, mentioned before, I'm taking it off in April. You're still going to see podcasts roll out. Taking April and May. I'm probably going to take May. I just want to focus on some music and the record label that I run and get that going. But thank you guys for coming on. Next up, Fernando Perdomo.
My first question for you is, I've been looking on. You have a project coming up with the Todd Rundgren covering Something Anything. How is that going?
Yeah,
it's done. Okay.
It's out.
Oh,
and
perfect.
It's available now, and I'm super excited about it. I mean, it's probably the most. It's the craziest project I've ever been a part of because it's a 25-song album that we cover to cover. And then there's 7 bonus tracks. So in the end, it's a 32-song double disc set. So it came out incredible. We had Marshall Crenshaw on it, and Louise Goff, and a bunch of girls. Stan Lynch from the Heartbreakers, Carmen Apiece.
Carmen's awesome too.
Yeah, he's amazing. So it came out great, and it's out now. It's available through Todd's charity called spiritofharmony.org, which is a charity for music in the schools.
Awesome. Yeah, I met Todd for the first time. It was very exciting. I interviewed Joey Molland of Badfingers, so I got to go to the show where Joey was playing with them doing the Beatles thing, and here Todd comes walking through to the meet and greet, and I just got blown away. He's one of those beings, I guess, that just you can't explain the feelings. It's like, that's Todd Rundgren. So it was really exciting. I'm a big Todd fan too. So
yeah, he's amazing. He's my career template, and the way this is actually a good thing. Basically, if you do things in Todd's style, it's like you're going to have an interesting career because, I can't think of anybody else that did what he did. Being a full-time producer, a solo artist, a band member, and a session guitarist. And it's incredible what he did, and his discography is fascinating to go through.
Yeah, it's perfect, and it's just something. It's definitely. I got into him a little later because again was like, I'm gonna try to check out his stuff, and I finally listened to Something Anything, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of really fun in this. I mean, the second side of the first record is like him just fooling around in studio, and I'm like, that is really cool.
There's no hit album.
Yeah,
that is as crazy as that record.
No, and it's a hit album too, which makes it even cooler. It's like this is awesome.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's definitely something.
The breadth of his artistry. He's incredible.
Yeah, it's something different. I really much enjoy having, I love listening to all different stuff, and Todd definitely, it appeals to the 60s soft rock side, but it also appeals to this whole new DIY indie kind of feel too that a lot of artists now go after, which I think is so cool.
Yeah.
And then,
the craziest thing that Todd did is that he followed up that hit record by doing, Wizard of True Star, which is pretty much a progressive rock album that he made on acid. And it's like, then he formed Utopia, and he had a 35-minute song. So
Utopia's amazing.
In one ways, he kind of self-sabotaged his pop career, but that is the reason why, he's still headlining shows and not playing the Chili Festival.
Yep.
Because, he's got hits, but it's not what defines him. What defines him is an incredible career of variety and artistry and unpredictability.
That too. I mean, he worked with Sparks. I mean, that's as much unpredictability as you could get.
Yeah, he was the first guy to work with. He produced their first record.
Yeah, so Wonder Girl and all those songs are fantastic. I'm a huge Sparks fan. I saw the movie. I got to see Todd in the movie. I was like, yay! And then I actually got to meet him, and I'm like,
they were. That was a surprise. They had not seen each other for 50 years, so that was incredible.
Wow, that's amazing for them too. Definitely, I've interviewed Marcus Blake, who was the bass player during that lovely stretch of tours for that 26 concerts in 26 days, the 26 albums. That's nuts. I couldn't even imagine doing that as a musician. And then I wanted to ask a little bit about the album you did with Sandy, just to kind of cover in with what we talked about. Do you have any particular songs on there that you liked working on the most off that album?
Oh man, The End of the World. That song is incredible, and it's like every song he brings in is so well written, so well done. And the thing that blows my mind is how melodic he is, and his ability of writing, just very concise and very, very beautiful melodies and great lyrics. He's a real masterful songwriter, and I hope he gets the respect he deserves through this.
That's why I wanted to definitely do the podcast.
It's great working as a duo because he puts a lot of trust in me. And, that's me on drums and bass and guitar and keys. He's a great bass player. And I'm very picky about bass players. So it's really wonderful to hear his tracks. And yeah, I'm really happy that the reviews have been very stunningly good. And one blog called it the best power pop EP of the year. So
honestly,
I
would give it right that
one
respect.
of our EPs, San Fernando
Definitely.
Blast. But
yeah.
Now this whole full album is just so great. So I couldn't be prouder.
Yeah, it's awesome. I've been playing like Pay It Any Mind, and a couple other songs. I'll be keep playing it. I've been hooked. Usually, I was telling Sandy too, which is in the podcast. Usually, when I get new songs, I kind of listen to like the first 30 seconds or a minute, just because I'm making the playlist, and I'm like, oh, it fits. All right, I'll play it. And then I get to hear it when it first comes on the show. With this album, it was like, can you send me the whole album, Sandy? Because I need to hear the whole thing like 4 times.
One of my favorite songs on all of them is called Fake.
Okay.
And that's actually one that he's like, I don't know if I'm crazy about that one. I'm like, that's my favorite. That lyrically is like, might be my favorite. But yeah, I mean, it's I don't know, but the best one is the end of the world one. It's just, I don't know what I want, but I know, it's so great. I mean, it's so fun. And this is what I tell everybody. It's like great songs produce themselves.
Oh, yeah.
It's just, it makes my job so much easier. And it's so great. I
You're
love
just
it.
like, I could just play to this. I'm good. Yeah, I'm a musician myself, also record label owner, and also a radio host.
Cool.
So
Which
I
one? Which
love, so my label's brand new, RoboJack Records. I'll send you
Nice.
some of our stuff. I'll send you some of our samplers of our
I
bands
would love
and
to
stuff.
check it out, man, because I've got some stuff that's looking for a label right now.
Oh,
so
okay. So
let's check it out.
Yeah, well, definitely. I'd be interested. We're not signing just yet. We just started. We got one signed, but I would totally be down to, in the future.
At least, let's build a relationship.
Yeah,
So
I would love to. I'd be honored. And Danny's a good friend of mine as well, so hey, it makes it a little easier.
Well,
and I've been a big fan of your work,
and it needs
as well,
it needs
so.
it needs an audience. So.
Yeah, and I've been
We'll
a big
see.
fan of your work yourself. Ever since seeing you in the Echo in the Canyon documentary, I was like blown away that I was going to be able to talk with you today, which was really cool. And then honored to have you call back. That's amazing. What was it like working with Jacob Dylan?
Jacob is somebody that I've looked up to since I was in high school, and it was a real dream come true to play with him because, look, I came from a very interesting high school. My high school had a rock ensemble program.
Oh, wow.
And 4 of the songs that we did back then in high school, I've ended up working with the artists. Fiona Apple.
Wow.
We did Criminal back then. We did One Headlight by the Wallflowers.
Mm-hmm.
We did we did Temptation Eyes by the Grassroots.
Oh,
and
wow.
recently I worked with Creed Bratton from that band, which
cool.
is really freaking cool. And what was the 4th one? Oh no, there's a 4th one. It's crazy. But yeah, that was a really fun thing. And that Echo in the Canyon project was a dream come true. And I'm so
it was
happy
fun to
exists.
watch too. It was fun seeing David Crosby, and it was just fun seeing all of them. All of them.
I just can't
involved.
believe I'm on 2 tracks with Neil Young. I can't believe I'm on a track with Eric Clapton.
That is awesome.
I can't believe I'm on a track with Josh Homme and
it's incredible.
and 2 tracks with Fiona and Nora Jones. And it's just it was truly an incredible experience and something that could only have happened in LA.
You're living the Licorice Pizza soundtrack.
Well, Licorice Pizza, man.
Yeah.
There's a song that was used twice in the movie. It's one of my favorite songs of all time. It's called Lisa Listen to Me by Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Yeah.
Blood, Sweat, and Tears is in my 5 favorite bands of all time, and I have dreams of producing them one day. So and I would drop everything if they asked me to be their guitar player.
That would be insane. I've always had my dreams have been lately. It's been fun because with running the record label and running, I booked my first show, and we wanted the Figs to be the opener. The main act, and Pete's a good friend of mine, Pete Donnelly, and so I was like, Pete, we want you, and he was like, bad timing. He goes, next year I would be more open. I'm like, all right, cool. So
Nice.
I guess we're doing a show next year, but in August we're doing a show, and we got a couple local acts. And give the local acts a nice sound to start.
Local where?
Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut, so.
Well, yeah, it's crazy that I'm working with a lot of Connecticut artists. I've got, with Danny, and then the CTs, which is this incredible singer named Michaela.
Okay.
Amazing, Michaela De Benedictus, and she's incredible. And her band is called the CTs, based on CT, Connecticut.
I like that because it reminds me of the DBs, like the the Power Pop
although
group.
The only thing is that she spelled it SCATESEASE.
Got you. Okay.
Not CTs, but it's incredible. And then
awesome.
there's this other band called Strange Chameleon.
Okay.
Which used to be called Growlix, which they back up Danny, so they're fantastic.
Cool.
I actually have to go in a little bit.
No
so
problem.
If you have one more question.
I got one more I kind of was like perfectly summed up. We got the 10 minutes right there, so we were perfect. I
don't know if I have anything else. I'm so just enjoying this moment.
Thank you so much,
yeah, man.
I really
keep in
apologize,
contact.
man.
No worries. If you have any more open time, we'll let you on
work.
for as much as you want to do. Thank you, Fernando, so much. Honored.
Take care, bro.
Thank you. Have a good one.
You're tuned into Mad Wasp Radio, so don't forget where you are. Don't change that dial, you don't need to.